All right, we'll try that again.
It's just to play it.
Jeez, that's loud. Why, hello.
Hi there.
So it's been very cold here.
Yeah.
The coldest it has ever been while we've been in this house.
Yeah. So the hot water line at the church in the sacristy was frozen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Speaking of church, where did you go this morning for much of the morning?
Well, my wife told me that I should probably go to church and bring the kids, except for, our youngest who's fighting a cold. And so like, oh, sure. Well, because it was so cold yesterday, the Christmas decorating, which would have happened yesterday, happened today. And because I'm on vacation, went in and Father announced at the end of the Mass, and anybody who wants to stick around can do that and it'd be great. So get our stuff together. Christina got her confession after Mass because we were too late to get it before Mass.
Yeah, I figured.
And so while we're waiting, we're like, we'll just set up one Christmas tree. And then it led to more Christmas trees and wreaths and other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you guys got home at like 11:30.
Yeah. 2 hours later.
Yes. 2.5 hours, I would say.
Was it 2.5?
Well, I guess you did. You must have been done at 11 because you ran by the post office for me for something. So yeah, 2 hours, I guess.
Yeah. They were still going. But I said, I think we've done our fill.
You called me and you were like, guess what we've been doing? Or I don't know what you said.
Yeah.
I think you were testing
we're leaving
me.
just now. I knew what you did.
I know.
I picked up what you did there when he announced it. I'm like, oh, she knows I can't resist helping.
I would have liked everyone to have been there.
I know.
That was like my vision. But alas, that was not to be. And I figured of the two of us, you were going to be the more helpful in setting up than your 6-month pregnant wife.
Yes, I helped our pastor hold the ladder.
Oh my goodness!
Take up and down a giant wreath and keep people safe.
Speaking of which, I really, really thought that those hooks were like mechanized, that they would drop down. So people always have to climb up there.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah, the only one that's on a crank or a winch is the Holy Spirit dove. That's at the very tip top.
Okay.
And that's only because one of our good friends had the foresight to say, we really should put this in. Even though they couldn't afford it at the time, they put a conduit line in so that they could run the rope later.
Okay.
And he helped run that rope.
That's good. Yeah, so there's a blank wall. I mean, it's a nice brick wall. It's a lovely brick. I don't know, thin brick probably.
Where?
Where the wreath is hung.
It's tile.
Okay, it's a nice tile.
Yeah,
when the church was redone, our church used to be plain dark brick with white mortar, bright blue carpet on the sanctuary.
That's more common than you want to admit.
Oh,
still.
Lord have mercy. Yeah. But so our church was renovated in the early aughts, I'd say. It was while I was gone off to college.
Aughts.
Double O's.
Okay. Thank you for us old people.
Okay. I don't know where I picked that up. I'm sure it's somewhere.
Some
I don't think
hip
I just
young
made
person.
it up. So anyway, we have like this really lovely large tile wall that is in the sanctuary off to one side. And when the church was renovated, someone was constantly making these beautiful tapestries that were hung, to reflect the liturgical season. And, over the years, I don't know where those have gone off to.
Well, I do, because we went through every single one of them trying to find angels, and we couldn't find the angels. And I saw some really old, should never be used again banners.
Okay. So you saw some stuff made of felt, probably to be burned.
Oh,
put it in the burning pile?
No, they were actually pretty well made tapestries, but they're really hideous, like of grapes and fruits.
Have you seen them since we've been at the parish?
No, I've never seen any of these installed. I've seen the ones that we've had used in the parish. We only found one of those sets that I could find. I saw.
Oh man, because they were really pretty. Yeah, there were many of them. Yeah. I assume someone was making them by hand.
I was going through and picking them out for this lady who was trying to figure out, because she was like, I know we have the
angels bearing
angels,
trumpets.
Yes, and she was looking for them, and they had been tagged with a little a photo of what they were, and some of them were like really atrocious. But as she's going through, there was one that had a note, and it was like handwritten of Mother Mary or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, I wrote that one. I know my penmanship anywhere from parochial school." Like, okay.
I know
sure.
mine anywhere as well, except it's just because it's terrible.
Yeah. So we looked through all of them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, like slightly exciting.
Avail.
Yes. So yeah, hunting down a different wreath, and
we did find. You remember there were these big purple banners that would go all the way to the center point of the roof, and then go all the way down to the baldachin where the tabernacle is.
Yeah.
Found those.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I barely remember those.
Yeah, I barely remembered it too, and then I saw them like, oh, they do exist. Yeah. Not that I'm a proponent for bringing some of those back.
I think that some of them,
ones.
Yeah, could be brought back. Some of the liturgical decoration, especially reflecting the seasons. But I'm sure there was some atrocious stuff. And as I've come to learn, as someone that works at the church now, we just don't get rid of anything.
No.
So actually, a lot of my year has been working with my main volunteer, and we've been going into like the dreaded faith formation closet. And taking stuff out, and I'm like, this is going to go. This is good. We're just going to give these out. Like, why are we hanging on to these? So we distributed, like, Advent wreaths for free. We're going to give all the Sprouts kids lambs at Easter, because there's a bunch of, like, stuffed lambs.
I remember
all kinds of
Yep.
things that are just in this closet. And I'm like, it is not doing any good in a closet. These are going to go out to people to be used and to not be in a closet anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough people like me, I guess, that work in parishes. Mm-hmm. Although, maybe liturgical dressings would be different. I don't know if I'd be so cavalier to get rid of some stuff, even if it's hideous.
There was one.
Mommy?
Hi, Jonathan.
I didn't have lunch yet.
You didn't, that's right. You neglected to eat lunch. But we're going to have a really big dinner.
Yeah,
spaghetti.
Really soon.
Yeah. So
Why don't you go back
really
down?
soon
What
we're
is
going to have
it?
spaghetti. I just said. We're going to have spaghetti. You want spaghetti?
No.
No? Okay, well, we'll figure something else out. Go back downstairs and watch Bluey.
We're not.
What are you watching?
We're watching something else that was the thing like didn't like last time when they turned off, like set it off for a while.
Okay, go tell them they need to turn back on Bluey, and Daddy said so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so there was a tapestry that was yellow gold, like a satin material, that had little golden beads all over it. It was definitely from the 70s. Definitely. And it was hideous. It made me cringe.
While you're on parish council, pastoral council, maybe
maybe I can
have a motion
it's time to just get rid of that.
To clear some of this stuff out. I'm sure many people would cheer. Well,
yeah.
I'm Kit.
I'm Dale.
Welcome to Catholic Hitch. We are a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Small talk.
Well, I was going to talk about kind of something returning into our house that hasn't been here for nigh on 5 years and causing me particular distress, and that we've gotten through a tough week.
Oh, yeah, that. I'm like, I didn't bring anything from the thrift store home that I shouldn't have. No.
Nope, something terrible entered our house.
Yes, of the microbial variety. Yeah.
As we have shared, our Montessori has been masking since Thanksgiving, and so that is like the smallest part of joy of like this whole ordeal is just the evidence that masks are not working.
Well, we've had
for this population.
Hand, foot, and mouth. COVID, of course. Strep, yes, that's gone through, and now RSV.
Yep.
And everything except for hand, foot, and mouth has gotten into the house.
Yes. But that's because I stopped sending our son for a week, because that was the week before Thanksgiving break, and I'm like, we are not having hand, foot, and mouth before I'm entertaining 19 people
Thank you
in
for
my
that.
house.
I hate hand, foot, and mouth.
Yes. So I deliberately, our son had to stay home because it just takes Jonathan a long time to get over any respiratory illness because he had RSV when he was 4 months old. So either it damaged him or he has a predisposition to have a worse case. What would it be? Pediatric pulmonologist that we were seeing at the time said that they're not completely sure which of it is, but that she warned us every time he gets a cold, if it goes respiratory, it's going to be harder. Well, and you can relate to that.
Yeah, he has the same propensity that I do. Every time I get a cold, it starts in the nose, goes to the throat, goes to the lungs. And then it goes back. And so airbornes have revolutionized my life because I don't know what magic they put in them, but they do help me to avoid having a bronchial attack of some nature. So what has it been the last 2 nights? I have assisted our boy by sleeping next to him ever so painfully. In keeping him in the right positions because he, like his mother, loves to sleep on the belly, which is like the worst position you can be in when you have mucus and bronchial problems in your lungs. You need to be up on your side so your heart is up, and then it just helps your pulmonary system to flow the way it's supposed to, your circulatory system flow the way it needs to. And so then in between the nights, I'm whacking him on the back and getting him to try to cough a little bit, and then giving him his inhalers when he's needing them. And I caught up on my Hallow app for the Advent challenge.
Nice.
I got a whole week behind there somehow.
Yep, me too.
And I'm pretty well caught up. I'm like 2 episodes behind now.
I got all the way caught up this morning because I went through an entire week while I was knitting.
Oh, wow.
So I want to back up a little bit because Jonathan started getting like cold symptoms on Sunday night, and on Monday, he was scheduled for a well visit on Tuesday afternoon at our doctor, and he continues to be sick on Monday, and I just decide on Tuesday, or maybe it was Monday evening, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to gate crash at the doctor, and we're not going to change my well visit. I'm going to get in there because I know who the person is I'm seeing. She knows our family. She knows Jonathan's history, and I'm not going to tell anyone that he's sick. I'm going to give him cough drops galore, and then I'm going to confess that he is not only here for a well visit, but I want to do an RSV test because for whatever reason, I knew that it was RSV. And I know that there was outbreaks and stuff at school, but he's been sick all fall. He's had respiratory all fall.
Right.
But this one, maybe I recognized it just felt the same, or I want to say it's mother's intuition.
Well,
so.
I would say part of it too is we're a little bit more bold when it comes to going to the doctor now because we've been on a health sharing ministry, and we don't have to just go, oh, here's my copay, please take care of me and do whatever you're supposed to do, versus we go in and say, we think we have this, I want this test, and yes, I'm paying direct for it. So give me what I want, I'm ordering it.
Yeah.
So, and we're not being jerks about it or oh, we know more than you. But a lot of times we've gone into our family practice and they don't seem to want to listen. And I've had one of the physician's assistants there that I thought was a very well-trained doctor. He had said to me that the only way a doctor can understand what's going on with the patient is to listen to the patient. And he asks lots and lots of questions and has helped me figure out a lot of things in my body. So I've gone in there and post-pandemic and said, hey, I've got strep. I need a strep test. And they're like, we don't think you have strep. You need, did you take a COVID test? Yes, I took a COVID test. I have 20 million of them at home because our government keeps giving them to us. I don't have COVID. Can you test me for strep? We'll test you. And then, 15 minutes later, oh, hey, you have strep. And then with Jonathan, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't think he has strep.
Yeah,
But, he's got some of the classic symptoms. And I'm like, dude, his Montessori has 3 confirmed cases this week. The same thing. He's been hanging around them. He has strep throat. We're not so sure.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait till the lab work comes back in 2 days.
So I gave that
my
physician's
goodness.
assistant a little bit of a dressing down by phone when he called with the positive test. And I said, I think in future you need to revise your standards of providing antibiotics when you're like confronted with someone that presents all the symptoms who has been in close contact with known cases in a small population. Their Montessori school is like 25 kids. So if there's 3 cases of strep, that's like quite a large percentage of children.
That's almost a pandemic. It's an epidemic at that point.
So I definitely gave that physician's assistant a piece of my mind about not giving us antibiotics.
Yeah.
Because 24 hours for strep. This is a little bit off topic, but yeah,
but it's the rant.
It is. So I gate crashed, and we had to actually transfer to a totally different room in order to get the test.
Well,
because we were in the well room, which is almost the entire practice is all well visits. So if you're sick, you have one room in the entire practice you can go into, which books fast, which is why I gate crashed, because I had a definite appointment with a doctor who knows us and who, I was very apologetic to. I felt terrible leaving that office, but we got the test done, and she told me, she's like, let's do the test, but I really don't think it is. And then she called me when we were on the road 15 minutes later and said, yep, you were right. And I said, I'm so sorry again, but thank you very much. And this is our game plan, blah, blah, blah. So from there on, we are on RSV mode in this house. And I just wanted to say, without carrying on too much, I think we can go on to our main topic here in a sec. So I have been getting bad restless legs in the night with my pregnancy. Quite bad, where I have to get up many times. And so I was looking at the restless legs as a barometer of me checking on our son. So I was like, okay, I'll get up with the restless legs. I'll go to check on him and, make sure that everything's going well, and then I'll try to go back to sleep. And so that worked out the first night. And then the second night, I wake up and it's after 2 a.m, no restless legs the entire night. And I freak out. You aren't in bed next to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Dale fell asleep downstairs. Jonathan's dead in his bed, because that's what women
Mom
do.
there. You had a mom there.
I'm like, he's going to be dead. He's going to be dead in there. And I go into their bedroom of the boys. And you're there next to Jonathan. And just the palpable body relief that happened when I think I need to go yell at a kid. He is disrupting this nice story about his father. So you were there with Jonathan. So you have slept the last 2 nights next to him in order to try to keep him somewhat elevated and to albuterolize him at the proper times.
Our modes are different for RSV mode, because my mode is I'll just stay up a little bit later, watch a couple of extra episodes of something, and then I'll go to bed about 11:30 when that first hit of albuterol needs to happen for him. And then I'll just sleep next to him, and I'll lightly sleep, but I set my alarm so that I know, okay, in 4 hours he gets the next hit. And I got all the stuff laying on the pillow. That's my mode for it.
Well, it's good, and I tried to get him actually to sleep next to me that night, because you were at Taekwondo that evening when he went to bed. And I was like, okay, you're going to sleep next to Mommy. And I said a rosary over him as we were trying to fall asleep. And then I get done with my rosary, and he notices, and he's like, I'm going to my bed. Your bed is hot. And
it does get warm in our bed.
Yeah,
yes.
And then I fell asleep so hard, and that was 7:30 maybe, because I was like, well, we're just going to get him down. And, so I was freaking out at 2 a.m.
A little bit, but he's doing better.
He's doing better. Yeah, praise Jesus.
Yes, he is doing much better today.
That's the thing about RSV is it starts out pretty easy, and then it gets really unexpectedly hard to the point where you're freaking out, and then it starts to ease.
Yeah, we got to the threshold a couple of times in the night of his O2 was pretty darn low.
Yeah.
But I knew just to keep waking him, just keep it up. And, luckily by this morning, his O2 was stabilizing where it should, lower than it should be, but it was much better. And then today he's been much better. So it'll still be a hard night, but it won't be as bad.
Yeah.
At this point.
He's been...
And he's 5.
Yeah.
He's not 4 months. He's 5.
That's true.
So, I think he'll He'll be okay.
Yeah, it was interesting. This is the first time this virus has re-entered the home, so it's a little emotional for me.
Yeah.
And you're just more practical in your approach, and you can relate to what Jonathan's feeling because he's a lot like you in that pulmonary way. Pulmonary systems.
I started asthma and bronchitis when I was 5. So I'm on alert.
Yeah.
Because he looks a lot like me, so maybe he has some of the problems I have too. We'll see.
So he's blessed by you and your just ability to respond. So yeah, he gets up in the morning and he coughs a couple great coughs and his O2 jumps, almost 10% immediately. So.
Yep. Trying to teach him how to do that early.
Yeah.
It's a lesson I did not learn as a child.
He's
Took
been
me a long time.
Doing a good job expelling with a forceful cough.
Yeah.
Anyway, big talk?
Big talk.
So something else that I do frequently, you frequently go to Taekwondo, and I frequently drive toward Taekwondo to not only bring our daughter to the dojo, but also dojang, sorry. I used to do this stuff. Okay. Dojang. Get it right, kid. But I also have been bringing our son to a tutor for dyslexia, which has been fantastic for him, by the way. But for whatever reason, we had Revenge of the Sith, which is episode 3 of the prequel of the Star Wars saga, in the car, and our son put it on. I'm not sure how it even got into the car.
Well,
so we were...
our son.
Okay.
It
just was...
decided.
Appeared there. I guess that would make sense. So we're driving, and I've never been super into the prequels. They were fine, I guess, whatever. Kind of problematic in a few areas, but we're driving. I'm driving, so I'm not able to watch, and I'm just listening to the plot. And I was really, really taken by Emperor Palpatine. And it was shocking to me. And so I was so excited that I needed to share with you. And then we watched it, I think last week.
Yeah.
In the weekend to really showcase how struck I was by Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. The word today, kids, is diabolical.
So we've been doing Acts 29, which is just an endless font of big talks for us. And episode 3 of, episode 3 of both the Star Wars and the Rescued series.
Is it? Oh,
yes.
How about that?
How about that? Coincidence? I think not.
I'm sure Father John and the Acts 29 team were exactly thinking that when they did it.
So episode 3 is all anyone has to remember. It's episode 3 Star Wars and episode 3 Rescued Project. So it talks about the devil, and the devil in his names, his titles, the devil in his mission, and then the devil in his tactics.
Right. Yeah.
So I wrote them down. I kind of rewatched it right there in front of you if you want to talk about them.
Yeah, the third person on the stage is kind of how they talk about it. So there's you, there's God, and most people have forgotten that there's this other person that is part of this, our biblical story, which is the devil.
No, I'm not there.
Not God, but a creature created by God.
No, it's just you and God. I don't know if you can trust that guy.
Right, exactly. So, are these my definition notes here? So Satan, by the word itself, means accuser, correct?
Yeah. So those are the two primary titles.
And devil, divide, or diablo, right? The divider. So I can't remember who said it, if it was on the tape, or not tapes, but the video, or in the book, or somewhere else. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. The Navy SEALs use a tactic when they go in to a place in order to overcome it. They basically go in, they disrupt, they isolate, and one other thing, and then they attack. Only then will they do their mission. So, ironically, it's exactly what the devil does.
They follow diabolical tactics.
They do, unfortunately. But I don't know if they knew that or ever thought of that at the time, but it's a tried and true method, because the devil, he has the same game film. He's been doing the same thing for millennia, and we keep falling for it. So why change the tactic?
Right.
So he goes in, he separates us, he isolates us, he starts to tell us the things that we need to hear in order to diffuse us of our abilities to defend ourselves. Oh, you're just too fat, you'll never do this, you can never change, all of these different things. He flatters us in order to get our sense of pride up, and then destroys us afterwards.
So it's so interesting listening to the interaction, the dialogue between Emperor Palpatine and Anakin through the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see, especially knowing where the plot is going is helpful. And that, I think, is really elegantly done because everyone knows the end of the story because this is a prequel. We know where Anakin has to end up.
Yes.
And he starts out as the hero, and they have to completely destroy him. And so how do you go through that process in a way that is natural? Well, diabolical tactics will do the trick.
Yes.
So Emperor Palpatine immediately starts fixating on Anakin, from the moment he comes in, because he probably senses his talents, and grooms him, like literally, the same kind of grooming method that predators use. And so you can hear in like his dialogue, he flatters Anakin, like, oh, I think that, the Jedi would be crazy if they didn't send you for this mission. You're the best of them. They need you.
Mm-hmm.
He deceives by saying, the Jedi are actually the ones who were craving power, when it's him that's craving power.
But he also deceives in the fact that he just shows himself as this nice old man, a fatherly figure who can help Anakin to learn to be Gentile and all of these different lies.
Gentile?
Gentle.
Gentle, okay.
Yeah, gentle and true and honorable. Like, he can do all of these things. And, the Republic is going to instill all of these things into all of the world. That's their purpose, which is a lie. And he's using that because, Anakin has daddy issues. He does. He didn't have a father. And then, the closest thing he had to a father, Qui-Gon Jinn, comes in. Oh, he dies. And then he's left with, other father figures who can't quite fill the gaps, throughout the entire storyline.
Yeah.
And in comes this user who sees that and completely uses it to his advantage.
Yeah, and he tempts him really early on, like in the movie. So he flatters him and then tempts him. I think maybe it's the middle of the movie. He basically recounts like the story of Darth Sidious. No, he's Darth Sidious. It's another Dark Lord who
Count
was
Dooku?
able. No. This is like in the lore of the Sith. That he was so powerful that he was able to create life out of nothing.
Yes.
And that he was also able to stop like death from coming to his loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously Anakin's been having nightmares about losing Padme and her baby, their baby.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's, this power exists. You're not going to learn this from the Jedi.
Right. But if you think about it as the deceiver, the corollary in my mind would be the devil saying, oh, I was trained by this one guy who had the power to create life, but then he lies and said he destroyed him, but he doesn't really destroy him. He could never destroy that. That's God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because he's utilizing this idea, but then at the end he says to Anakin at that point, because he's got Anakin enough on the hook to start bringing him into the dark side, that he starts to reveal a little bit, and he's using the visions that Anakin's had because, again, he is the chosen one. He has the highest midi-chlorian levels of any Jedi ever, and so he's having these future prophetic visions, but he can't see what they are, and so this Sith is using those to his advantage to cloud the judgment in order to make him his student, which is basically his slave.
Yeah.
Because any Sith, all they do is they enslave one another, because the one on top wants the domination, and the one that is below them eventually becomes so eaten alive by this greed and not jealousy. What's the other word?
Pride?
No, it's what you do when you don't want somebody to have something, but you want it. Envy.
Envy.
Yes. They are envious of what the other one has to the point that eventually they kill each other.
Yeah. It is
Because
the way.
there can only be one on top.
Yeah.
You know, so even at the end of the movie, Anakin is starting to talk to Padme and say, "I'll kill, you know,
I'm going
the
to just
senator.
kill the
yeah,
senator.
and then we'll control the world, and we'll make it our world."
Yeah.
You know, the lies are completely turned. It's
Yeah.
again, it's completely diabolical. All of the things that he uses. So I don't know. I'd never picked that up.
No, and again, it made the movie really worth watching because it's so well done how that transformation occurs, and it follows these tactics. So the tactics are the devil accuses, the devil lies, the devil divides, he flatters, he tempts, and he discourages. And that all happens in the dialogue between Darth Sidious and Darth Vader. You know, during that transformation from Anakin into Darth Vader, everything happens, which is so interesting to see. And it makes, I think, watching the movie and seeing that character interplay really worthwhile. I think there's, like, major pacing problems in the movie. Like, they should have really slowed things down, sacrificed some of the action sequences to maybe show a little bit more of the passage of time, because that's the one thing that's hard to follow, is the transformation is so rapid. But you have to, like, believe that it's happening over 9 months of Padme's pregnancy. So, you know, he flatters Anakin by saying he's the best. He tempts him with the power of the Sith to preserve life. He divides Anakin from the council by lying about the council's goals and objectives, and the council plays right into it because they start to pick up on the fact that Emperor Palpatine isn't wanting to leave office, that he is continuing to accrue more and more power around himself. So they're responding to that, you know, because they do want to preserve a republic and not an empire. And Anakin senses that as, you know, falling right into that lie that Emperor Palpatine laid to him. He accuses. And then, you know, lovely at the end, he discourages. Like, Anakin finally, he makes his choice. And he takes out, gosh darn it, Samuel L. Jackson's Jedi character.
Yeah.
Wandu or something.
I don't know.
Anyway, he, like, throws him off or does something. He kills him while he's going after Emperor Palpatine. And Emperor Palpatine had tempted that Jedi into increasing his attack in front of Anakin to antagonize the response from Anakin.
Right. He was using the dark side against the Jedi, who, from his position of power, because he's one of the lead masters, could only see one avenue to defeat him, which was death. He could not give him mercy. And what Anakin needed at that moment was for mercy to be shown. Because if he had shown mercy, there would be no Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Funny
so
how
they
that
all
works.
just manipulated each other, or, you know, he manipulated all of these different players into falling right into his hands.
Yeah.
And, you know, Anakin falls to his knees and he's like, what have I done? What have I done? And that's when he becomes Darth Vader. And Darth Vader gives him a mission, a diabolical mission that he completes. And, you know, ironically, of course, causes the death of his loved one, his Padme.
Yep.
And it's just so interesting to see all of the little tactics are hit upon through the entirety of the dialogue. So there's a lot of problems, but as far as looking at Emperor Palpatine as a beautiful case demonstration of the devil and his tactics, it's just so interesting to watch.
Yeah.
What else did you observe anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a story, so it very well plays through all the different things. The only thing I would say that we ourselves can get into a false sense of security, like, oh, I know what the devil's tactics are, so now he can't hit me. He can't get me. Well, just like Emperor Palpatine, he was so many moves ahead of everyone else. Nobody even saw what his strategy really was. They couldn't even understand it because it was so global. That's the same as Satan. giant global strategy.
Yeah.
You know, his goal is not to just take out you and I. His goal is to destroy all of humanity. All of humans.
And bring it under his
go
dominion.
and destroy it.
Yeah.
Completely destroy it. Once it's under his dominion, it's to crumble it and to destroy it because he hates us so much.
Yeah, that's true.
That's his purpose. Not, I think a lie that's been told of us is, oh, you can go serve the devil and, you know, you'll just be a servant. Yeah, you'll just be like one of the slaves that, you know, the Sith Lords are to one another. Eventually, you will die in a horrible, brutal way. Like, there's no good that comes from that line. The dark side, there's nothing good that can come from it.
Yeah.
It's so easily shown by the Jedi that this is the truth. You know, so I don't know. I think that's the one thing, especially as we've been doing the sessions with Father John Ricardo, is to think that, okay, you start to identify and understand these tactics are being used against you. You start to realize that the third person is on the stage and he doesn't want you there. Then as you're like, aha, I know that you're going to get me through X vice, because we all have them. And then all of a sudden, the devil, rather than saying, darn, you caught me, says, that's okay, I can use that. And flips it around and then goes from a different mode. Oh, I'll flatter you into believing that you're so much better. Look at how good you are at keeping me at bay. And then he goes through that door instead.
Yeah.
So it's the same game film, hasn't changed, same tactics, different modes.
And I think watching that episode 3 of the Rescue Project, that's the one I wasn't with you all to watch, so I watched it on my own, and it was really hard for me to watch because it talks about the devil's titles. It says, you know, he is Satan, he is the devil. That's his biblical titles, and those titles mean things, and they reveal his tactics. And then we talk about his tactics, but it also talks about his mission. Like, the mission of the devil is to deceive us about the nature of God and to get us to disbelieve that God loves us, to say, no, God doesn't love me. God doesn't have my best interest at heart. And I take that really seriously because of what happened after Jonathan got RSV the first time, is I lost my faith because I suddenly saw, you know, because the devil twisted in my mind, I saw that God was holding the life of our son over my head, waiting for me to obey in prayer. That's the way the devil played that out in my mind.
Yes.
That's the rendition that stuck inside my brain.
Yeah.
It isn't reality, but it's what I believed in my heart.
No,
and
but
so my
that's his
heart
job.
broke. Yeah, my heart was broken by God, quote unquote, but it was actually the devil, you know, trying to divide me from a loving Savior. And he did a great job on me.
Yeah,
it took years for my heart to heal. And fortunately, I'd been well-formed enough to know that God is real and God does love me and God has my best interests at heart, but I didn't believe that for a very long time.
Well,
so when you hear about the devil's mission, it's something that I have lived through.
Well, you forgot one name on here. You forgot Lucifer.
Well, yeah.
Which means light bearer. Again, he didn't start out like he was going to be the bad guy, but then he decided he didn't like this creation that God had made and changed it. So he uses good in order to create evil.
Yeah. And another, I always love to mention the Silmarillion as a beautiful portrait for, you know, how this may have come about. And it's all art. And so it's about us, you know, dwelling in the art and trying to see God in the art, which is, you know, a good way to encounter Christ. But, you know, Melkor was that person in the Silmarillion. He was the greatest of the angelic beings, and he sang in contradiction to the song. And out of that contradiction, a lot of things happened that were unexpected to Melkor. But it's just like a nice portrait, again, of the devil.
Yes, it is. Well, that's where Tolkien got it from.
Yeah.
You know, don't need to make up a new bad guy. There's a bad guy already. We can utilize that to create the stories.
Well, it's good to like explore in art, you know, the diabolical and clear good and clear evil. And I hate that our society is getting into this weird like fixation, flirtation with like truly diabolical characters and trying to showcase how actually they have, you know, some good behind them. Because
it's becoming more and more common.
Yeah, it's just like trying to give permission for those diabolical tactics, and it's unnatural because we're made by a loving creator that wants us to know him.
Yeah, it used to be you would have the bad guy who wasn't as bad as the other bad guy, and the less bad guy would have the chance for redemption, and then it would become a good guy. Now it's just, this bad guy's less than that bad guy, so we're going to praise this bad guy. He's still a bad guy. Instead of do the bad things.
They're complicated.
Yeah, no. Or just our world has forgotten, that we have a loving Father.
Yeah, and I think people are complicated, but the reason we have art isn't to naturally, completely reflect real life. It's to play out, like, scenarios in a natural setting with controls. So it doesn't mean, that any person is diabolical or that anyone is beyond redemption, but it does mean in a story we're playing around with archetypes. And it's frustrating to see, the archetype of evil praised in so much like modern storytelling. Or the ideal of like apathy too, in stories, just like apathetic responses to situations. It's just kind of frustrating. Instead of trying to, again, return to heroic virtue, like the Hero with 1,000 Faces. So, I lost you.
Is that a movie we should watch?
No, it's a book.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Campbell's book.
Joseph Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So he's talking about like the archetypal hero, and that we've always had this, and there's a reason for it, because we're trying to strive to be heroes ourselves, which is really to say that we're all striving to be saints.
Yes.
Right?
Sanctity. Yes.
Yeah. So it's very natural for us to like be attracted to stories that follow that line and call us into heroism, virtue, sanctity. And it's very unnatural to be attracted to stories that don't. But that seems to be the affinity of our modern world.
Well, because we're the taboo keeps moving, the line keeps moving, and so things that make us feel in ways, just like, oh, that's wrong, or just any kind of excitement in any way, shape, or form, because the world is no longer seeking the good, in the most part. They're seeking the things that are not good, and just like anything that is not good, eventually it devolves itself into something worse. I mean, take any addiction. It will show you, because that's all they are. When you don't choose the good, eventually you need something that is worse in order to do whatever it is you're trying to do. And that's all we see right now. We're devolving into crazy, insane things in our world. I mean, look at now, Roe v. Wade was taken away, and, it should be great. Praise God. We finally defeated this. No. The entire Democratic Party has made it their mission now to say, you know what, we need to save and kill all these babies through abortion. And you know what, I think now, even if they're born, we should still have that ability. So there's a couple of states out there right now that are starting to pass euthanasia. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, because when I was in college, there were ethics professors that were arguing in favor of killing up to 2 years old.
Yeah, because China does it. Why shouldn't we? It's called communism. So that's where our world's at. So we have to be the heroes. We know the film. We know the story. We just got to go do it. We got to be a bunch of St. Joan of Arcs. It's really what we have to do. She didn't go into battle and say, I'm scared. What am I going to do? She said, no, I am made to do this. Yeah. I'm not afraid. I'm made to do this.
Yeah.
So that's hardcore. We got to be hardcore.
We do.
Yeah.
All right, everyone get their sanctity on. Let's all become saints, the saints that we are intended to be.
That's right.
Not necessarily the new Catherine of Siena or new Joan of Arc, but truly who we are called to be by God.
That's right.
That is the mission.
Exactly.
So let's go do it.
Indeed. Lord Jesus come.
Indeed.
In a day or two, as he will.
As he will. Well, we buried the lead. We're recording this a few days ahead of Christmas in order to give ourselves the holidays with our families. So we are going to release this on Christmas and wish everyone a Merry Christmas from Catholic Hitch.
Indeed. May the Lord guide and direct our journey.
Amen.